I'm going to want to affirm both queer and lesbian.
I think it's just important to remember that they're just labels. Once you choose a word to define yourself, it's just one label among many. There's practically no label I can think of under which everything would be subsumed, not even human or earth person or whatever. There's always a larger label and there's always a smaller label. So I think the question for me is, which label is most up for me at a given moment, depending on my personal situation, my political situation, whatever. Sometimes queer works because I want a broader feeling of my own affiliation. But there's no question that lesbian, for me, it begins to really narrow down the closer thing that I feel. Lesbian feminist even more. I'm no longer a lesbian separatist, so I had that for a while, and I now dropped that. And it's all very fluid. And I don't think, I probably will disagree with Sally about this, I don't think that any one person actually sticks to one label even at a given time. It's just what's up for you at the time that counts.
Up meaning makes you feel good? Yeah.
Well, up meaning what's the political situation in which I have to define myself, or the social situation in which I have to define myself. When I'm with a bunch of queer people and we're arguing about a platform or who we are, whatever, I may have to assert my lesbianism. But if I'm talking to a much broader mainstream, I would probably want to assert my queerness. It really depends on context. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's all I have to yap about at the moment.
That was good.
Good. And of course, I agree. What can I say? I would say here, though, that I want to claim something for the word queer and something for the word lesbian. The word queer always meant I was in trouble, If I ever heard that word prior to 1970, it meant somebody was after me and I should start getting scared or. Right. So I have had to sort of redeem that word inside myself. After reading a lot of the material that's coming out now about queerness, or the word queer, and about the queer world, etc., and queer theory, I have come to want to embrace it and say, I really do think it's wonderful, and I think that everything about diversity that it suggests is the thing that I want it to be suggesting, because I am wedded now to the idea that that the diversity is just incredible, and that insofar as we can call ourselves queer, and that states a lot of diversity within itself, as well as the diversity that exists outside the label, that's what I want it to do. I think anything as individualistic as queer allows it to be is a wonderful thing, and I'm all in favor of the term queer. I now like it and would like to include it often, as Jane says, in my vocabulary. At the same time, I do acknowledge what the quotation was saying there about the word lesbian being of strictly European and United States origin, of use in those areas, because, that's where the literature has been, that's where the action has been, that's where the question of homosexuality and the sapphic woman who was the lesbian, and that was Greek, and this is all European, this is all the United States of America. Doesn't say much for Latin America or South America, even much less the Asian world or the African world or any of the island worlds. But I want to put in a word for lesbian, because I think one of the things that has been important about it is that along with the women's movement, the autonomous women's movement, I think what lesbian separatism, for instance, meant in the context of the women's movement and of all of the political activity that was going on in the 1970s and 80s and 90s in this country and in Europe and indeed in the rest of the world as well. The women who wanted to claim the back to the land, I will be separate from the men in the world, and I will be separate from my gay brothers, and most of all, I will be separate from my feminist sisters, have an important part to make because it's a cultural context that I don't think appears anywhere else in history, having to do with the ways in which women relate to each other, the things that they value, and the ways in which they behave, the going back to the land, the ways in which they functioned in order to make it clear who they were. I don't think that's been duplicated much of anywhere else in lesbian gay history.